Good morning, good day, wherever you are, whenever you get this. Do you like the lashes? They are only just but glue on ones, for I have never committed to actually getting fake eyelashes because of how it destroys the original, which is pretty spot on for where I want to go today after I share away this message with others who might want to join in too. So I'm going to share it to the Peaceful Inner Warriors United Assembly group over on Telegram, which I hope if you haven't already joined, you will choose to. And I would love to talk to you in the comments. Talk in the comments. So please do leave some comments. And what we're going to talk about today is why not, and how our insecurities can define us. I'm going to share this over on Facebook as well to my page, which is Laura J.E. Hamilton, Your Guide Home to Yourself. And there is also, as part of that, a group called Where Misfits Fit, Home for Soulful Seekers, or that's what its old name was. Where Misfits Fit, Peaceful Inner Warriors United and Untied is what it's called. So if you wanted to go there, you would be able to join me live. And I am not being given the option to post it directly to Where Misfits Fit, but here we are. It's posting. We're live. We're 3 minutes into an hour-long call, potentially, and I want to know what's going on for you. So, I am curious about what's going on for you. I'm also trying to figure out where this went to on my screen, for it seems I moved it off of where I could see it, and now I am back. And so I want to say I hope you're having a spectacular day today. And I want to talk about weaving intentional inner webs. I want you to see that I broke down the acronym for inner in Fully Committed. Great to have you here, Popoli. And I wrote about the sacred sojourn of the soul that is really fundamental to take hold of the concept of, because when you are able to maneuver the sacred sojourn of the soul with more intentionality, you're going to find your inner experience, as defined in Fully Committed, to be individual needs necessitate emotional resilience, resonance, and respect. Respect took a long time for me to add to the list of because within the inner realm, that is what I am at the helm of, with mine own real magic kingdom being the Garden of Eden I am guard in the energy den of. I want you to see that we are individuated expressions of the grand overall designer that are putting out our intentions to the universe to be received by the all that created all of us, whatever you want to call the all, that construct. It gives us back our expectations through the form of people, places, and things, which then become territories within our perceived realm of influence. And so we then receive back what we intend for. It's just the universe doesn't differentiate negatives. It only gives us more of what we focus our energy on. Therefore, if our energy is on what we don't want and the universe cancels out the not in order to give us that which we wish for, not, but it didn't see it because it doesn't see the knots and the no's and the negatives, just gives us the experience of that which we're focused on, which is the more we want no more of. Resist and persist. That is the shift we must make as we rift through the inner experience, seeing resonance as that which we are vibrationally resonant to, on the same level of. We can feel it, we can vibe with it. You know what I'm saying? Constructure. the con that you're structured as, yes, absolutely. That is why it is so fun to break down word spells that we must dispel in order to not be deceived, to believe we must leave be that which we need not drop a knee to. So I know I go off on all of my poetic riffs and I have fun, and then it leads people to shift onto other things because it's just too heady, which is not hearty. And this is the shift. We have to drop out of the head and into the heart. Even if it's fun to rift, sometimes we've got to be willing to shift into a lower gear to settle the nervous systems of those who cannot revere nor hold dear or near that which triggers them too much. And too much may be a story that you have heard you are your whole life, as have I. Construct you are, it's true. What do you do? I sometimes just can't help breaking out into song, to be honest, and I am grateful that you are playing along with me today. I want to say that resonance, respect, and resilience are the inners that gives us a purr. And did you know that those purrs of those kitties that are the felines that come as the companions or the familiars to the ones deemed to be witches that seem to understand magic in a way that man has not had access to? For the middleman would say, you've got to go through me in order to get the understanding you claim you've got right now, but without me, you're nothing. So come on, choose me, says the middleman. And that is how we redirect our energy through the clan that has claimed our energetic direction for long enough. Because as much as we love those we come from and through, we do not belong to them, nor did we come here to do all things and be all things for them when we have a heart song on our heart that must be flung into the world, whether it be sung or whether it be strung or whether it be expressed in some other fashion. I care not. I just say we must do it. We must bring forward that which we desire to. And when we do, then we will be able to see the inner tension that can be what causes dis-ease or cellular disharmony within the energetic body that becomes dense, and that is what the body is. Not seeing the energetic body and spiritual body and mental body that are ultimately patterns overlaying this. When you see the density that collects all of that and brings it into the now present moment. This one here, where I am and you are as you are when you are, if that be now or if that be in the replay when you see us here now in a different now, it's all happening now except for in our head. When we say, "Oh, but no, you're here now," and it's November 3rd and it's 10:10, which is the date of my birth. Or should I say day I was born instead? For birthing is a movement the boats do. And when I was declared dead and lost at sea by the Vatican, who claimed me as the vassal, which is the holder of title over me name, which enemy I was given the claim of, if you phonetically pronounced it, enemy would be a name. Enemy, an me. I don't know how it broke it down specifically, but it sounded way better where I read it than what I said it. So maybe I can find that. Or instead, we can just see that when we believe ourselves to be the name of a label, of a box that we have put ourselves into with the words that we have chose as the syntax that becomes the sin of tax, that is when we change our identity to drop the knee to be knighted by someone that believes themselves to be more or less because of the title they wear. And the Vatican is the title holder until we declare ourselves to be that which they said they were. And then we say, oh no, a man or woman with a higher claim to that which I claim must take the stand and actually have standing in the matter in order to speak, for the stand does not compensate for having standing. Found this in a YouTube's comment section. It may have resonated of your mentioning the insignificance of pair of rents, parents. Do Here goes. 1 year ago, understand people, you don't have to do anything. It's all been set up. Death does not hurt. It just is, and so are we. Your parents are not why you are here. It's the lineage which will continue after you die. And then I say it is the line and the age that gives us the lineage to see where we stand as the individuated expressions of that which has come back in order to clear the cords that have attracted us back, in order to call ourselves back into greater wholeness through the soul fragments that got fragmented in now moments that are no longer now, for now is all we have, and all the past and all the future are now timelines also that we may or may not have stepped into, which is why I heard yesterday that the shadow is actually the unexpressed or experienced timelines of potential that we haven't ventured into yet, nor do necessarily we get to. But the lineage that we come through, we came into for a reason. We came to clear that which has been in the families that we came into and through. So we must see that we literally are our ancestors' greatest hope for change, if we are willing to breathe ourselves into the now, to be fully present here where we are, to see that we are the conscious co-creators of lives worthy of being lived if we have webs strong enough to support that which we are building, dear spiders. The symbolism of the spider, if you look it up, symbolism and the animal that has crossed your path in a noticeable way to give you a message, that's what you can type into the Google search net that will give you an answer, as will your internet too. INNER as the internet within you. It has access to all of it too. For all of these potentialities are what give us access to what could be if we allow ourselves to be the fullest expression of divinity that we came here to be. Enemy is phonetically na-a-mi, not to be translated. It just is. You are translated. Yes. You will be baited to wait and then carry more WEIGHT in order to WAIT longer. The weight of density is when the energy has settled and stopped being able to move, which is what emotion needs to do. Energy and motion needs to be in motion, and if it won't, the ego will say, energy, go! Ego, ego, energy go. Why do you go so slow? I don't know. If I go slow, then I know that I am not what I could be, because so much of me is in a not now moment out there. And if I fear my full presence and power that comes with that, then I find out I don't know when the next time will be, or when I'll feel ready to do what I'm called to now. So I'm just gonna do it and see how it goes. And so if you don't even know about the gathering at 11:11 on 11:11 and before 9 o'clock, the tours start for a private meeting at a private residence. Residence is what we call the places we dwell, and if we are not well, then we will not care for the house that we are the heads of, because the manorial system is where our energy has gone until now, because we didn't see the family tree in the manorial system or corporatocracy. That is what we'll see under feudalism, which will say it is futile to resist. The muses to muse, what does that mean? I sometimes like to sing. I love to sing, in fact. Sometimes, but not all the time. I do, seriously though, want to invite you to come to Soul's Path for a private experience in the morning on November 11th, as well as an afternoon public call for the youth to come. Okay, so here's where I'm going to announce it for the first time. Resistance is assistance, you and me both. Here's the exciting thing. On November 11th, from 2 till 5, at Soul's Path in Blackstock, we are going to gather live. I'm asking for live and living souls, embodied, incarnate, to gather, to come together and to recognize that right now we are being called to create a curriculum that will honor love and not hate, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, physical health, energetic wellness, social health, corporate well being, and practical life skills will be the fount of where we must dig in order to order our households responsibly again, to see that we need no middleman, as was talked about before the song was sung. It is time for us to see that you are the one that actually must take the first person pronoun position within your own sentence structure, so as to not have sentences written about you as a he, she, it, or them. Because when you do allow that to be true, well, you move into a third person pronoun, which is a third party in your own life, because it's become an affair when the middleman got involved. So there. Let's just declare that we no longer need to be deceived to believe that a corporate structure is going to know what we need better than we do. It is true that sometimes we get into a muddle and we can't get ourselves out of it alone because we need someone to help us unfuddle ourselves. And what that means is that we need an ear, which is why we have two. Hear, hear. So we also have our wit and punniness to be able to have some fun and funniness in our days, for that is the way that we bring peace to our heart. And our lives are full already. We get the 86,400-second lottery until we don't, every day until we don't. And we never know when that will be. So we have to live as if it were our last. Yet too many have come to believe that death is to be feared instead of life to be lived. I do believe that is the scared martyr experience of needing to die for something, or being afraid of what would happen if something got in our house. Yet, when in fear, running away from, we cannot actually run toward that which would call for us instead, which is life. Life loves life. It does not seek destruction or what is not nice, though it also has a natural order too. And so we must stand true to the fact that destruction is a natural part of birth and reconstruction. The structure of our lives, though, need to now be considered in terms of worlds and realms, because you are at the helm of a very significant vessel. If you didn't know, here's the inner web I want you to be well aware of. Your self-worth, self-esteem, self-belief, and sense of inner security are what are going to allow you to actually be the lighthouse that stands strong despite the storms of chaos that will come into your realm, because it's real magic in these parts when we claim the right to be at the helm of a vessel we are captain to and need no agent to speak for us. Frequency is the way we shift energetically so we can contribute that which we have lived, because we embody a new energetic signature or frequency, because we integrated, we internalized all of the lessons that we went through during the Valley of Transformation, which will take us into the deepest and darkest places in ourselves and the psyche of the collective that we are tuned and tapped into too. So, while speaking of tapping, give this message a like, please, and share it with a friend who could use this opportunity. And do, when you share, let them know about medicine, not the medicine that would have us have syntax be a different reflection of what the truth is, in terms of buy all of this just because you wanted one piece of it, compared to what I suggest, which is go for the medicine. Book medicine, movie medicine, choose your part. Flip to that which you feel called to and start there. Maybe it's all you need, just that little share. Or maybe you need the whole thing and you can go to and through all of it. But with my book, for instance, my medicine for today, oh dear, I have lots of things flying out of it. It's at the top, Martin de Molier's poem, First They Came. More or less, it goes like this. First they came for those ones, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't one of them. Then they came for these ones, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't one of them either. Then they came closer to home, rounding up my neighbors, and I got nervous, but still didn't speak out because I didn't want to upset anyone who might turn on me. But then, when they did come for me, as was only a matter of time in retrospect, there was no one left to speak out for me, and his story tells of our dreadful fate. So, when I got locked, I share about going to a lawyer after I got out of being locked up under the Mental Health Act because I called the police to report the system was corrupt and they're in on it, and I'm here to bring peace to this world and take me to your leaders I can help. And then I just got deemed crazy. But it's not untrue. It was at that time unrealistic and grandiose indeed. Yet, is that not what we need to be able to believe in something bigger than ourselves, that which our heart bleeds in order to do? I was trying to make something happen. My ego was, for sure. I was ready to step into what I'm doing now 4 years ago, and it wasn't time. So I got locked up and reminded of where I would never surrender myself willingly again. Except for then I did two more times after that, just to like make sure that the mental health system was not actually helpful the way that I suspected from the experience of getting locked up there against my will for 2.5 weeks. Then I was broken to the point of thinking, like, maybe they do know best. So then I went in and was at the lowest point in my life for 5 days and actually agreed to take medication willingly, which I was I consented to after 4 days of being locked up within my 2.5 week stay to medication then, because I realized that if I didn't show some level of compliance, I wasn't going to get out. I thought there were a lot of energetic patterns I was tuning into, and it was all very new to me. The whole sensitivity to energetic patterns that I was feeling in a more literal way, I am now coming to know, than what others seem. Because when you're looking at things from a literal perspective, the energetic, mythic, and symbolic don't make sense. And when I'm talking about snakes and scorpions and talking about the fight between the evil and the fearful and faithful, it was not an unwise decision in retrospect, given those factors from an outsider's disconnected experience of someone speaking of such grandiose and crazy concepts or claims. However, for someone that knows me, for people that know that I have been a certified coach, teacher, speaker since 2011, that I have always been one to advocate for those that I see being disadvantaged, disrespected, harmed. I don't stand by when someone is getting bullied willingly, or I don't do it well, and I don't do it for long specifically. Though I guess 36 years is a long time to have been part of a corrupted system that, at that point, I was only 31 years into it, but I woke up and it was like, no more. No, this is not okay. We're changing this and I'm here to be part of it. So let's do it. And it was not the time. But, I got a really extreme experience. And if I had not had that experience, there's no way I would have approached COVID the way that I did. I was working, I was training. I have trained. I have an English degree at McMaster University. The John Maxwell certification program for coaches, teachers, and speakers, all of the energy training modalities that I've studied. I have prepared at a very high level English training to be able to teach English as a foreign language to children and teaching English grammar. Like, I have put in the effort to be able to add value and hadn't really found my spot. Though I kept on trying to create opportunities for communities with other people that also couldn't find their spot, which is why I created Where Misfits Fit. Peaceful Inner Warriors United and Untied is what it's called now, but before it was always Home for Soulful Seekers. I have always been wanting to help call people home to themselves because I saw the way that religion was legioning us up into different tribes based on belief systems and sex by SECTS being the sex that I am referring to, and belief systems being the BS that we subscribe to and define ourselves by, and then pay fines or fees that are part of the feudal dues that come with being part of a manorial system we didn't know had a liege lord and villeins and serfs under that. Well, did you know that a villain becomes the villain in somebody's character story? If the liege lord tells the villain to cause harm to the man or woman that doesn't do as the liege lord wishes them to, and then the villain is stuck onto them to be the villain in their story, and the villain to the liege lord that calls the shots and then sicks the elite's dogs onto whoever it is they wish to put in line. Religion is rely on jinn. Wow, rely on jinn. The genie in a bottle is the way we stay in the moment, and that's why my name is Laura Genie. Did you know? When I was little, I couldn't pronounce it, and my mom thought it was super cute. So she would get me to introduce myself intentionally because I would introduce myself as Wawadini. And everyone thought that was super cute for a little 4-year-old blonde, blue-eyed tot to be saying Wawadini instead of Laura Genie. So Genie is in my name, not with the IE, but certainly with the gene. And that's significant for the DNA as well. And then Ellen, I always say, like the show, though, is that still going on with all that's coming out within Hollywood? I know not. But what I do, dare I say, these are foundational principles to keep in mind as you design the life you lead, as you become someone you respect because you trust yourself to act with honor. Doing so will absolutely strengthen your web of self worth, self esteem, and self belief in a way that allows you to aim higher by allowing your desires to rise to the surface like the cream of the crop you previously thought we were not. If not you, then who will do what you uniquely came to this world equipped for? What if your whole reason for being born was to be on someone's path on the day they planned to be their last? And because you smiled at them when they thought no one cared whether they lived or died, they changed their mind and chose life. What if everything else in your entire life was a bonus because you accomplished this trajectory changing task that you had no idea meant everything to that soul in that moment? What if it really were that simple? You may not have worldly status, title, position, or prestige yet, but When you choose to lead your own life responsibly, you offer a vibrational example to those who see you as someone who cares, and they raise their own standard because of your example. That is why we are here together, to gather in common unity and to walk each other home to our own respective heart centers. There are 12 hours in the day, and if we count the seconds, they are 43,200. 43,200 seconds. 3432. Familiar? Oh, the hertz. 432 hertz frequency. I do believe you were talking about Papa Lee. I read from page 206 of Fully Committed, The Sacred Sojourn of Now, by the way. And if you haven't heard already, I'm actually starting a mastermind on Fully Committed on Thursday. So, Thursday, November 9th, we're actually going to be gathering for 7 Thursdays at 7 o'clock Eastern for an hour or an hour and a half, depending on what we really need. But we're breaking it down by themes, and we'll be covering 4 chapters. I have created an audio file for each week, so you'll actually be able to hear me narrate all 4 chapters, and then we'll come together and talk about those chapters in relation to the theme. So if that is of interest, you can get it on my Patreon account. So please check that out. It's only $55 for the 7 weeks. And if you are also interested in coming to the Remembrance Day Call to Remember, which is a different way of remembering ourselves to see the reality of the real Rome. So that is an experience that we're putting together where from 2 till 5 on November 11th, it's actually a public event after a private meeting in the morning and then a supper as well at night. From 2 till 5, though, in the middle of the afternoon, we're going to do some high level masterminding, and we're basically calling on youth leaders to come out and actually look at all of the different avenues of expression within the special practice that is part of the 66 Days to Transform Your Self Image experience that we are on day 3 of today. So, this message is actually the 3rd message I'll be sending out to those subscribed to ljeh.ca after this message. And it'll also get posted over on Patreon too. So, you can subscribe to the mastermind if you would like to be part of that. And if you want to actually come to Blackstock for the November 10th, we're having a networking event. And then the 11th, when we have this call to the young leaders, it's not about age at all, but it is about saying we need to be able to gather. We need to see who is who, what skills we have, what projects we're already working on, what we're involved in, who we're connected to, who we need to know that someone else might have access to, and then really be able to leverage our community without it being in a usury way like so many, it seems, are today. So, we're going to actually have the opportunity to come together and create some leadership training material. We can have practice. We have opportunity to play together and be able to design a curriculum that's really going to serve each of us. So, that experience is open and available to you. It's $88 for the November 10th and 11th events at Soulshine. And then you can also get a room at the retreat center, Soul's Path, where it is being hosted. And they've created a user or a code for Peaceful Inner Warriors United, if that's of interest. So it'd be amazing if you could stay over and be able to be part of all of the festivities and activities. But basically, we're coming together, and if you want to do both of those, I've created a bundle package so you can get the mastermind and also the live event. And it's ultimately part of a bigger picture of bringing together community to be able to weave these webs and be the lighthouses that stand strong in the storms of change and chaos in a way that no one else could. one us, S1. Yes, I don't know specifically what the significance of one hyphen us is, but we are ultimately the individuated expressions of the same energy that created all of us, right? And then we created counterfeit versions of reality that have domains in each of the lanes that we are claiming and traveling down within the neural pathways of our own neurocircuitry. So, if that is all true, as I believe it to be, then we have to see the responsibility we have to intentionally craft stronger neural pathways. Those neural pathways are the way in which we are actually able to intentionally strengthen our self-worth, our self-esteem, our self-belief, and the sense of inner security we have as to how safe we feel within the vessel that is us. So I would love to be able to come together and talk about what all of this means to and for you, which is what we're going to do on Sunday night at 8:30. At 7 o'clock, I am actually joining Lynn Thompson for a podcast, and it is the art of departure. So really looking forward to doing that on Sunday at 7, and then we'll shift into the 8:30 community meeting, which Lynn may or may not be able to join us for, but ultimately we'll be able to talk and connect in advance of the event on November 10th and 11th, and also talk about the mastermind group starting on Thursday, because it's really exciting, and ultimately it takes time for momentum to build, but it takes less time when more of us get online at the same time. So to be able to do that, we're really needing to focus on the frequency of aligning our energy to be not just online all the same time in a virtual sense, but in a literal sense too. So actually shifting how we're showing up and being able to shift our energy to a higher level before we show up, so that when we do show up, then we are spiritually and physically, mentally, emotionally able to rev up and go quick and then get into the collective consciousness at a higher level than normal. So it's going to take some practice, and the way that we practice best is in community, with common unity of our frequency, and the vibration and influence and impact that we're making on our environment is the answer. So in order to actually come together and positively impact our environment, we have to actually be willing to do the inner work. And coming together for group experiences, whether it's virtual or in person, both are beneficial. In person, obviously, has the added benefit of the overlapping heart fields that take place within 6 feet of each other. For that is apparently how far out our auric field or biomagnetic field actually extends beyond us. So when we are merging with another in that close proximity, then when our auric fields are overlapping, our biomagnetics are playing together, the fields are playing together, and that's oftentimes why conflict can take place when we're together. And obviously, if we're apart, then we're just going to be creating stories about one another, ourselves, the attraction, the dynamic, all of these factors and these variables. So I wanted to actually today share the story of why not, because it's really relevant in terms of asking yourself that simple question as to why not do that which you desire to. And when you can actually get clear on all of your examples as to why you shouldn't do the thing that you desire to or need to in order to get the thing you wish for, it's important to really have clarity about your basic motivational needs. And then it's also to say that Why Not was the name of a youth center that I volunteered at in 2019 when I was going through a lot of change and transformation. And I was going through a lot of my own stuff, but I also am just different naturally. For whatever reason, I didn't realize just how different it is. But, there would be times when I would go to the group and bring a book. So Brené Brown's The Gifts of Imperfection, which is a pretty incredible book. And I gave away my copy during my expanded adventures back in 2019, later that same year too. But Why Not was a significant experience for me because I was trying to do programming there. I wanted to share my theories and beliefs to be able to help the young people be able to positively influence themselves in their creative process, their environment, their self image. I really wanted to do all of the things that I'm doing now. And ultimately, I wasn't receiving a warm reception to it specifically, as I've experienced many other situations also. But this one was most poignant because it really mattered to me and I was volunteering. So it was even more of an extension of hope, really, but also faith that I could add value and, be altruistic. And ultimately, I was informed after a few months of volunteering there occasionally and having done a lot of travel and expansion, and my world was in a very unstable and expanded open state of possibility to an extent back when this conversation happened, that I was asked to found my own center or place where I could share the alternative beliefs that I had, because the place was actually a missionary or ministry that had started with the wife of the owner or the co owners, but she was reading the Bible to teens in the park, and then it morphed into more. And so basically, the biblical roots of that organization were offended by the very proposal I had that we may be able to actually teach the youth how to manifest without having to go through the middleman and the belief system of the book that has a lot of codes within it. Granted, it is literally the companion manual to the Justinian Codex, upon which the legal fiction was created. And so that would be why there is an authorized version of the Bible within the legal system. It's based on the legal fiction. This Justinian Codex is literally what came from Justinian dynasty's legacy of when Justinian took all of the existing codes from all of the books and then put them into his and then said, you have to subscribe to this one if you're going to be lawful. Except for he couldn't claim that, because lawful by nature is unwritten and unlimited until it's written and then becomes law, because we've claimed it, and then we can draw from that claim as evidence in whether others interfere with that claim or not. And so when we start to understand the power of the spoken word, but then even more so the power of the written word, that's when we start to see the power of lawful notices and the fact the Justinian Codex is not lawful, but it is legal. And legal actually has its own language, which is called legalese, that has different definitions. So the syntax is different, which are the meanings assigned to the signs that the words are. And then the legal fiction actually also uses Dog Latin, which is a form of English sign. It appears English, yet it follows Dog Latin, or it follows Latin grammar rules, which Latin is a sign language. So when Dog Latin then turns all uppercase words into signs that stand alone in themselves, then we start to see that what the words actually mean is not the same as what we thought, just because there's been a capitalization of them. And in the process, we were incorporated, or we are disconnected because we won't play along with the system or acknowledge the mixed jurisdictions within the same text, which then ask who's actually commanding the laws of these realms. And if we find there to be two kings, which mean there's two different jurisdictions from each of him or each of them, that's when then we see the reason that Dog Latin is actually a bastardized text that disqualifies what is on it when we acknowledge the mixing of jurisdiction and the fact we don't know which language rules we're actually consenting to or following. And so all of these subtleties are the ways that we are called to drop knees in ways that we need not any longer, if we are willing to find out where our identities have been incorporated by entities that have incorporated our identities. So, when we invite those entities in with the identities we take on in order to conform to their forms, in order to conform to their norms, we've got a problem. And when we have a problem, it's problem. And blem is blaming others, because then we are pointing the finger without seeing the three or two pointing back at me when I point out at thee. So I hope this message has been useful to you. I have allowed or allotted an hour for this weekly podcast, which is about weaving intentional interwebs in for the in, and then tension to see the way that energy needs to move in order to not get tense and contracted and tightened up. So, if we are willing to actually move the energy that needs to move, which is what we'll do in the special practice, where you can prove to yourself that you can trust yourself to have your own back by being there for yourself and moving through a practice of reincorporating a sense of pride without the whole pride coming in terms of the collective belief system or dogma of the tribe that we call the pride of lions, that we invite into the identity we take on when we call ourselves one of them. It is time for us to see instead that we have an opportunity to actually stand strong and do what it takes in order for us to trust ourselves. So I would really ask you specifically right now in this moment to consider that. How do you trust yourself? How can you trust yourself more? What's a way that you can demonstrate to yourself, or have demonstrated to yourself, that you are trustworthy? How are you actually showing up for yourself? These questions are the kinds of questions that will help you be able to trust yourself, or know that you can trust yourself. And when you can trust yourself, then others can trust you too. Because when you're more trustworthy and keep your own word to yourself as well as to others, then others see you to be impeccable with your word, which means that you are honorable. And honorable people are the kind of people that people want to have in their lives. Or at least that's the way it used to be. And then the pride somehow got corrupted to want things that are cheap and surface level and scared or trashy, or, things that our soul really is not interested in. But the culture that we have been part of, the cult you are part of, has been moving us towards the cheap things instead of the soulful things. So trust, that is soulful. And trust takes a lifetime to earn and a moment to lose or break. And sometimes it can be rebuilt, but it takes even more time. And is a very fine line that we must tread where trust is concerned. We have to be honorable and someone that is trustworthy and can walk with ourselves through those darkest and most trying times in order for us to know that we will walk that line with and for someone else. So there's the part of me that thinks in my head, this is the kind of training that all people considering becoming parents should take. And yet there's the rest of all of us who came through parents that likely didn't take such a training, which is all of us for the most part. And because none of us had this training, or none of the ones that have loved us or reared us and raised us, because they didn't have the training in order to know how to best handle someone as unique as us, there were projections and judgments made that likely aren't even true. And so instead of having shame or blame about that, it's an opportunity for us to really step into recognizing the relationship we have with ourselves is fundamentally important. And that we really need to be able to actually know we'll have our own backs, because that is how we can stand strong despite the storms of change and chaos and challenge that come upon us. When we stand as a lighthouse, we provide light to others. And no matter the temptation for us, I heard this story recently, as lighthouses, our temptation is to just run down and be with the boats. We love these people, so we want to be with them. But ultimately, if a lighthouse is with the boats don't have access to the light the lighthouse puts off in order to keep them truly safe. So as much as we may love people and want to be with them all the time, sometimes we have to keep ourselves safely separate by working towards something of significance for all of us in order to actually be the beacon that shines as bright as what might actually save someone's life, rather than being in the dirt and the dust and the ditch with someone who is struggling and trying to comfort them from there. To actually hold our focus strong and send love to the extent that we can, but stay focused on shining bright and creating that which might actually stir their heart in a way that gets the passion going again, which is really, really what we need. That passion, enthusiasm, authenticity, clarity, and encouragement of inner peace. That passion is the flame that needs sometimes to be named and to be acknowledged, and to also recognize that together we can restart and respark that flame inside of the heart, which is the hearth of the humanly self. I say before the disclaimer, to be a hue is to not be whole. And instead of the hues, we are focused on being whole within the kindness of man. And when we can see ourselves to be part of the same clan, regardless of the specifications or specifics that go along with any of the tribes within the larger tribe that we're all part of, all of those classes and sects and divisions matter less than the all that we're all part of, that we all come from, and that we only feel separate from when we put different words on that and call it other than it is. So I hope this message has been valuable to you today. I am grateful that you have chose to play along, give this a like, and share with a friend that could use some book medicine, movie medicine, to be able to find the part in the video they resonate with, and then click there to shift whatever the relevance of that message was to their life. Maybe that's all that was required. So If you're just tuning in, maybe this is the part that you need in order for then to go back and choose your medicine, or maybe you want to watch the whole thing, to which I would say thank you. But I also don't wish to capitalize on or monopolize your team, which is your time, energy, effort, attention, and money. For those energetic resources are precious and cannot be squandered without significant loss to us all. So, I hope that you will use the tools that have been offered today in this Weaving Intentional Interwebs experience, and the story of why not that I intended to start out with. I just want to say that not everyone will resonate with you when you do things in an alternative or different way, such as what I have. And when I was asked to not come back to play more with those that needed to be led in a certain way, though it was unspoken and subtle, when I was told that information, it hurt because I really wanted to be part of something that already existed and was already great. But I was told in the fact I was not a fit for a Christian organization that I ultimately needed to start my own. And I've been doing so all of this time, but now it seems to really be kicking off. And the fact is, we don't need to put the creator of all into a box in order to find belonging together. Because if we see that the all created all of us, and we could just call ourselves us instead of specifying what we, another first person pronoun, are, well, then we get to stay the main characters in our own story, which are the principles in the properia persona, office of man, which is the first person top position within the dynamic, within the legal fiction that would drag us under into a debtor position by bringing a creditor in to sign an X and say that we will pay. And that is crazy. So, as much as being asked to not partake in an organization that would potentially lead youth astray from the message of Christianity, I am actually just simply inviting all of us to see that religion and politics both are the poles I tick based on my sex of belief systems. That being the sections of belief systems that make up the BS that we live our lives by, or that we intentionally shift so that we can create better lives, ones that we enjoy living more. And that is a gift to us all, I believe. So I appreciate you for showing up today and hope this was a valuable use of whatever time you gave it. And if you would like to become a Patreon subscriber as well or sponsor, I would sincerely appreciate that and have a variety of options available for you to choose the best option for you. So patreon.com/LJEH is my channel specifically, and I very much appreciate your support. Have a great day. Laura J. Namaste. Namago for today. Yeah.